Hello everyone, it's Lennon. Welcome back to the channel. I want to talk about shape-shifting, but hopefully I can rope in magic and witchcraft. I don't know if I'll be successful, okay? But I've been thinking a lot about shape-shifting lately. And in the context of this video, shape-shifting will mean being. And man, or human, into an animal via animal from the animal kingdom that already resides here on earth, or the mythological kind of animal, still animal category, okay? Not shape-shifting into inanimate objects, although that is a thing. So for the purpose of this video, we're talking about animals. It's just like a change from what you are, human, into something else, okay? And I kind of have been thinking about this because of my word of the year, which is instinct. And while that's been a profound practice to have that backing my year, okay, that word and that term it's just been profound to ruminate on that. But I got to thinking about instincts, right? When you think of instincts, you think of animals. And you think of what they are, like their mannerisms and things that they do that are innate to them that we humans don't think we do. So when I think about shape-shifting, I thought about what attracts us to shape-shifting, right? Like, what's the attraction there? I have always been fascinated by shape-shifting. I love to read about shapeshifters. I love to watch that stuff on TV and in movies. I'm just fascinated by the level of creativity that has come to shape-shifting. Now, first, right off the rip, we're probably attracted to shape-shifting because we can't do it IRL. Okay? Probably do it in our mind palace. But in real life, we can't shapeshift. So naturally, we're already automatically attracted to that because we're like, oh, I wish I could do that, you know? So I already have an attraction for that, just for that alone, that I can't do it and I like it, okay? And then there's the mystery about it. There's, of course, this supernatural aspect to it that's always fascinated a lot of humans too, is the aspect of the supernatural. So the mystery, the fact that we can't do it, there's an attraction there. But I think that there's other attractions that draw us in. Now, because the umbrella, shape-shifting term here is about animals, we have to go into the animal kingdom to find some of the attraction as well. To find what attracts us to shape-shifting in those respects, like instincts. The instincts, the innate qualities that these or the mannerisms in which the animal acts, right? Like howling. I think that shape-shifting, there's an attraction in shape-shifting for the primal nature, the primal animal nature that lies underneath, just under the surface of the shape-shifting, right? Like they're driven by their instincts and they're driven by this like call of the wild, right? Whereas humans are driven largely, I believe, by emotions. We're not really driven by our instincts because we've kind of gotten out of that. We don't have to anymore. We don't have to. I will say a large percentage of the human population doesn't have to act in those ways anymore. A large portion of the human population doesn't have to hunt for their food anymore. We don't live by night and day, the limitations therein, like, certain things that you have to do at night and certain things you have to do at day. Largely, we're not nocturnal creatures, so we don't have those limitations either, like in terms of instinct, in terms of instinctual mannerisms in those regards. And then we're not a predator and we're not prey. So we don't have those limitations as well. So all of these aspects go inside shape-shifting because of the animal primal nature of the animal that you would change into, right? So the attraction lies in the primal there. And I think that humans are attracted to the primal because we are animals. in a large respect, the mammal portion of us calls out, and we recognize that in a lot of the in a lot of the shape-shifting that we see, because the human is able to transform themselves into an animal. We recognize that that's already happening within us, right? Like that could happen, not in a real in a way that we would see it in a fantasy way, but we know that there's a primal force energy that resides in us, right? So whether or not it happens IRL, okay, the force and the energy still lies within there, and we recognize that. Also, I think that the aggression / territorial protectiveness, the mama bear inside the animal, okay, those instincts inside the animals also attract us, because like I said, we don't always have to go to those lengths. So that's an attraction, because we're like, because I think that humans, we have such a hard time developing, okay, boundaries, warnings, that we're so stimulated, right? And if you were to go out into nature, okay, let's just say, and hunt, and you come across a bear territory, okay, like a nesting zone, they call them, right? You come upon a bear nesting zone, there will be a warning call, right? If a bear is there, and they will like grunt out, and you can hear it, okay, because it'll echo throughout the woods, right? That is your cue to be like, there's a bear nearby. I'm not going in the direction of the shout, because they are warning me against coming into their territory, right? But us humans, we don't have stuff like, we don't have that. We don't like have a territory, right? Like the closest I could get to that is a no trespassing sign on my property. And it doesn't stop some of the like, you know, weird human phenomena that we have to encounter sometimes, like soliciting someone coming to sell a vacuum, right? It doesn't stop that, but that's probably the closest I could get to a bear warning call, you know? So we don't have to do that. But then because we don't have to do that, we're not good at establishing boundaries. And I think that that's an attraction. We're like, I wish we could. I wish we could just have a foghorn when someone gets too close to our like house, or too close to us, like at a grocery store. You're like, back the fuck up, you know, like, we don't do that. So of course we're attracted to that kind of stuff. I am. Now, I guess to get a little bit magical with it, I also have liked to explore within this shape-shifting idea of a video that I had, explore what could initiate the change, right? Like, there are so many stories out there of shapeshifters, so many paranormal, right, stories and movies and television shows, okay? And they go into all kinds of aspects on so many ways in which the change, the shape shifting, would occur. I find that so fascinating. One main thing I would say that initiates shape shifting is heredity. You were born to it, okay? In a lot of the stories, you're born a shapeshifter, right? What's really, really, really interesting about this is that in most of the stories where you are born a shapeshifter, so you've been around shapeshifting your whole life, okay? In most of the stories, you've been around shapeshifting, you know what it is, and you know it's coming, like when you're a child. But it's so interesting to know that in most of the stories, the shapeshifting doesn't actually occur until puberty. So when I think about that, I think, what happens to humans during puberty, right? I know that there are a lot of bodily changes that happen in puberty, but in so many ancient and in some cases, still to this day, some ancient, but some cultures that have rites of passages when you're that age, puberty, right? And a large portion of the human population doesn't have to undergo rites of passages. I find that kind of sad, to be honest with you. With this hormonal change that happens in a human life, okay, this huge hormonal change that happens to us inside puberty, the rite of passage in these ancient times, and in these in some rare cultures today, the rite of passages is because they want you to experience, they want you to have some sort of like survival of the fittest, like an actual bona fide transition, a shape-shifting, if you will, between childhood and man. Childhood and manhood, or childhood and adulthood, right? And children don't have that anymore. They get to a certain age, depending on, guardian preference, really. They are shoved into adulthood. And a large portion of these, I'll say teenagers, aren't taught anything about adulthood. They're shoved into that without knowing how to do taxes, balance a fucking bank account. They're thrust into this not knowing how to do bare maintenance on a car, bare maintenance on a house, cook basic meals, clean, right? Like, they're not taught. And I think that to me, a rite of passage would be like a time for them to like not go out in the woods and survive, okay? Not to that extent, like in these ancient times, but like a time where, all right, for this month, it's you gotta clean, you gotta cook, you gotta help me with the bank account, right? Like, let's balance the checkbook, right? And I don't know, it's just like if children had rites of passages, I don't know, maybe adulthood wouldn't be such a scary thing. I feel like rites of passages is such an interesting topic because we don't have them, but it's so interesting to think of shapeshifters undergoing these changes in puberty at this kind of pivotal hormonal time in life, right? And so I find that interesting, is that's when it usually happens. And how we don't have that anymore. So of course that's an attraction because we probably need that in some regard. So I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, that is probably the most common form of why the change occurs or how to initiate the change. But there are so many others. It could be a talisman, right? Like there's like a crest of some kind or a talisman of some kind that the shifter would have to wear or have to incant something onto, like a spell. Or we can even go spell work, right? We could go spell. There's a spell involved with initiating the shape-shifting. It could be like an elixir or a potion. Hell, this could even be a god or a goddess, like in a lot of myth, a god or goddess isn't, think of Medusa, right? A god or goddess is initiating the shape-shifting. They're changing you into something for various reasons. So this could be a deity of some kind that's shifting the human into something else. I find that fascinating too. So there's a lot of ways in which shape-shifting gets initiated. I believe that there's two types of shapeshifters, okay? There's voluntary and involuntary shapeshifters, where you've got a choice or you don't have a choice. Now, when it's voluntary, this is you initiating, okay, and I'm saying you for the purpose of this video, okay? We are the shapeshifters. If it's voluntary, there are reasons why you would initiate the change, okay? And it wouldn't be all the time because it's voluntary, right? Like, it's kind of that it lives inside of you and you can pull it out in certain times. That's kind of what I feel voluntary is. Because if you were an animal, it's really, in a large part of myth and stories, it's not so much that you were an animal that can shift into a man, okay? It's out. So if it's a voluntary thing that lives inside of you, you can either pull it out for various reasons. What would those reasons be, right? I've thought a lot about this, or I've tried. One would be deception, right? You're trying to deceive someone. You're trying to hide. I guess this could go into camouflage, but camouflage could mean something else. It could be that you're deceiving someone in an evil way, but it could also be that you're hiding from someone via like protection and safety, right? Like you're trying to save yourself. So you shift really fast into something for deception slash safe. What about if you, not so much that you would hide, okay? Because I feel like you would only do that. Like if you're a shapeshifter, but you know that you're like a fox shapeshifter, right? Like you shape into a fox. Then you know that the fox has predators. So therefore, you're not just coming out as a fox when you need to be aggressive, right? But aggression is pretty popular in the terms like, not that you need to hide and not that you need to like be sneaky and deceive, but that you need to fight, okay? This is a fight or flight thing, and when your rage gets to a certain point maybe, or your protectiveness gets to a certain point, you want to fight back. Usually in those stories and myths, you turn into something that is on the top of the food chain, okay? A bear, a lion, right? A dragon, okay? You're at the top. And you have the ability to fight back in aggressive ways. So aggression is another thing that I would say you could pull out your shape-shifting ability for, right? Like you get rageful or protective or whatever, and then you just like pull that dragon out and bam, Bob's your uncle, you can fight back. So I don't know, I like that. I like the aggression take. I love reading the stories where, they're like paved against a wall. There's aggression, or like a wall of people that are coming at you, or an army of some kind, and you're like, fuck this, I need to get my dragon out, and you just pull that damn thing out, right, and just annihilate the whole of it. I like that. I like that take. I like that. I like the creativity behind some of these stories too, in the manner in which people would talk about shapeshifting. Another thing that I want to talk about, I want to kind of plant here in the middle between voluntary and involuntary, that I think that familiars / servitors play a role in shapeshifting as well. So let's say you have a familiar, okay? Let's say that witches who have familiars usually are animals, right? What if, because this comes from ancient times, the concept of a witch having a familiar, right? In my head, when I'm thinking about shapeshifting, I like to think about that this could be an aspect of the shape-shifting nature that's inside of you. You can't physically change in terms of shifting your shape, but your servitor acts like this primal force of yours. Now, if you think about witches from long ago, okay, how we're depicted, they're agile, right? They walk between the realms. They're sneaky, right? Most of them are malevolent, okay? So therefore, the cat, which has been dubbed the witch familiar for a long time, makes sense, okay? Now, in my head, why isn't it a dragon? Because the dragon's my thing, Or why isn't it a panther? Like, if you want to be malicious, be malicious. But I guess when you're, shifting into a dragon, you can't hide. You can't be sneaky. You're a freaking beast. You can't really, hide behind a tree or sneak in and play with the mice, if you will. You can't really do that as a big old beast. Maybe my Leo rising in astrology is playing a role here. Like, I don't want to be sneaky. I don't want to be stealthy. I'm going to be like, at ya, So maybe that's why I like the bigger beasts in shapeshifting. Werewolves and not just werewolves, like big old werewolves, like dire wolf style. I don't know. I'm drawn to that maybe because of my Leo rising, probably. Then, okay, so I kind of wanted to shove that into. Now, I would say the next thing is the involuntary, right? Again, this could go into heredity, where you don't have a choice, right? You're born into it. It's just innate, and it's going to happen in puberty, and you have no choice. The others are the same as voluntary. It's for safety or deception, but someone else is doing it for you, right? Like a witch, a god or goddess, a certain type of villain, right? They're enacting the change in you for either deception or safety or aggression. They're changing you into something else. You know, like Hocus Pocus. Bend the bones and break the back. But I guess for the majority of stories and myths, this shape-shifting is a voluntary thing. To round out the voluntary, involuntary aspects of shape-shifting, I want to say that shape-shifting could, to me, be symbolic of, I want to plant this here sensitively, that shape-shifting could be a powerful symbolism for dysmorphia, okay? When you have body, mind, body, spirit, dysmorphia, I'll say, the concept of shape-shifting can be attractive to you because you would like to change yourself, something about yourself. Now, I will say that, in my opinion, everyone has something about themselves they wish they could change. And so, therefore, that's probably another innate quality of shape-shifting that we would all like, that we would like to change into something that seems bigger than ourselves, better than ourselves. So there could be an aspect of dark side or shadow here that I think that could be powerful to explore in terms of your magic or witchcraft practice. You know, think about the animals in which you would like to shapeshift into if you were able. In terms of shadow work, in terms of what lies beneath the surface, what primal beast lies beneath your surface, and what that may say about you, right? I think that thinking on your, like, what do you call them? Spirit animals? I don't like that term. I don't. For me, personally, I don't really like, I don't know how I feel. I don't think I like that term. But if you already have familiars / spirit animals that you would work with, would those be the animals that you would shift into if you had the ability to shapeshift? Or would it be something else? Something more beastly? And do you consider the animal portion of the shape-shifting duality here to be better than yourself, to be better than the human part of yourself? These are questions, open-ended questions that I've been thinking about a lot in terms of shapeshift. One very, very powerful thing that I've been thinking about is, for a while now, I was talking about this with a friend a while ago too, I believe. I mentioned it to her. The aspect of pain, I guess. The pain of transformation, the pain of shape-shifting, or the sensualness, the sensations behind shape-shifting. I find those utterly fascinating, okay? It's actually a card in an oracle deck that I'm currently drawing. Is this the concept of pain or physicality, sensations behind transformation. When you think about it, say you're a human and you're shape-shifting into an animal. You have to, the manner in which your meat popsicle suit, okay, is made, you are covered in skin and in various places hair, okay? But so a lot of animals, a lot of mammals are covered in hair everywhere, okay? So that's something that you would have to grow. A lot of them have claws or hooves, so you would have to physically change from having the hand that looks like this to a paw, a claw, or a hoof, or something of those natures, right? And what if you had to grow feathers or wings? Would they pop out like most people? I think that's so creative. When you think about angels or winged people that are humanoids or shapeshifters in movies and television and stuff like that, it's so interesting to know you already know where they would be on your body. Right there at the shoulder blades, right? Where else would they go? They wouldn't go right here on top of the shoulders. They probably wouldn't be in the lower back because it would have to be spaced in a way that your upper body's not too heavy and you're like falling over, right? Like you can't wing out and actually fly if your top half is heavy, right? Like it has to be kind of balanced, right? I kind of think of like this making swords. Like when you think of a forge, the tang of the handle has to be balanced with the rest of the blade, okay? Otherwise, it's going to be like too heavy. It has to be balanced. So, anyways, I digress. So I think about the creativity behind humans having wings, or growing feathers, or getting rid of skin altogether and growing, or not growing, but, and see, that's another take. Would we grow scales in a reptilian way, like a dragon way? Or would we shed skin, and that feels like peeling skin, which is pretty freaking gruesome, okay? Peeling the skin off, like scalping ourselves, and then the scales would like rise up from underneath the epidermis. So that would be like, the nerves would just be completely raw in that moment of shifting, right? Maybe there's itching involved, like itchy, when hair grows, it's itchy, right? So your whole body would like feel itchy as your fur is growing. Teeth, right? Teeth pain from like your canines growing, or you growing fangs, or they just elongating, okay? That's jaw and teeth pain. I can't even imagine that. So there could be an aspect of pain, or at least some sort of sensation when you're going through the change. And I find that fascinating because there's so many people that are attracted to shapeshifting that probably don't even think about the pain or the itchiness or the hair on the back of your neck standing up, or just in shifting from man to animal, the heightened senses that are involved, right? Like, we have senses, the five, most of us, okay? Most of us have five senses, right? Wherein, when you become an animal, okay, in most animals, those are heightened than in the human, okay, in humans. So, the eyesight would have to get sharper and broader in terms of range. You would have to develop night vision, which, if you think about it, would probably take a few days for you to develop. Like the reason pirates wear patches, right? It's like things like that, right? Like you have to develop these when the change happens. Heightened sense of smell, heightened sense of taste, right? Like right at the moment of shifting, everything tastes and smells like fucking garbage because it's so heightened, and you went from like basically bare minimum sense of smell to I can smell everything from a mile away. But then also instincts. Humans don't have survival instincts like we used to have. So growing those in terms of like your mental state and your body state, your body and mind have to evolve when you shapeshift to be able to like shift over to this state of survival, the state of when something's near, you feel danger. The neck is a powerful symbol of animal kingdom and shapeshifting for me. The aspect of like surrender, right? So I always go there when I'm talking about stuff like this. Is danger around? Are you feeling aggressive? So you like your haunches come up, like you raise up on the haunches. Do you have to maintain severe eye contact with an enemy? Things that you wouldn't be able to do as human, right? You have to develop all of these skills, or are they innate? And it's just fascinating to think about this in like an open concept, okay? Now, I guess to end this, I will say that to me, the attraction for shape-shifting, especially in like the terms of this video, is the concept of good versus evil. The animal and the moral and value compass that lives within me, the wolf that lives inside of me, the dragon or the beast, whatever, the primal beast, isn't my evil twin, isn't my evil counterpart. It is my sister. It is my good and evil counterpart. It is my 50-50 counterpart. You know, I don't know how to explain that. It's not the evil part of me. And that I have to recognize that I'm not only the protagonist of my own story, but I am also the antagonist. And so therefore the beast that I would shift into is also both. I can't look at it as that's the evil portion of me. It has its own evil and good qualities that I would give it, or that I would develop, you know? So I have to think of it in terms of shadow and good and evil and moral and values, and what that would look like when I was a beast, if I were a beast. As humans, we're safe, mostly, from predators. We're safe from night predators. We're safe from the darkness. We're safe from most evil. Most humans, okay? I'm saying most. We live an oversimplified life that doesn't run on instincts, that doesn't run on innate feelings anymore. Is the soul the inner beast? And do we have to know ourselves? What do we have to know the beast that is our soul? That's what I've been exploring. I've been trying to get into the head. The whole concept of this was thinking on a lot of the aspects of shape-shifting as a concept, and then figuring out the beast within myself, and how it is not just evil, the evil me, okay, my evil twin beast. And it is not the good side of me either. It's both. And getting into the head of the beast. What are its instincts? What are its mannerisms? I find this very fascinating. So, okay, there are some thoughts on shape-shifting. If you have any thoughts, let us know below, because we're probably all attracted to this. And in what ways would you incorporate shape-shifting in your magic and in your witchcraft? Let me know. All right. I hope everyone's having a great day. Much love.